say questions will not be answered at this meeting if they're not on the agenda. And yet when customers repeatedly request subject matter to be on the agenda, it's denied. So how do you get questions answered that are never answered?
That's the idea.
Is that what you're trying to do, is
No,
not answer questions?
No, no.
Because you're doing a good
Agenda
job.
item about how to get questions answered.
Pardon me?
How about that? We'll put it on the agenda for the board meeting.
Well, no, you've already
How to get
told
all the
us.
questions answered.
You told us, you said get it on the
Good
agenda,
point.
but you refused to put it on the agenda.
Peter,
Therefore, there is no way to get questions answered. And we have to go outside the agency to like other places, you know?
Put it on next month's agenda.
Yeah.
Do
What
this.
is, how to do it?
We're gonna discuss it.
You've already told us how to do it, and the answers haven't been forthcoming for over a year.
I think if I can try to address your comment directly to you.
Sure.
I saw your note that you sent in, and a lot of the items that you had submitted, mapping and other things, have been on the agenda and continue to be on the agenda. And some of the items that I saw on your note, I looked at it, reviewed it, I didn't see a lot that was putting on the agenda right now that needed to be addressed. So, the priorities we're trying to do is move the district and move these projects. And so the mapping you had on there, outside place of use has been on here repeatedly. So I'm not sure what specific items, so if you want to take up that conversation after this meeting, you're welcome to contact me and I'll listen.
Well, the state in
Let
this
me finish,
violation
please.
notice did discuss it a little bit.
Right.
Some of the same things that I've been asking for over a year.
Right, well, it's just no different than what we've said, too. We can get into I'll say, a discussion on the mapping. That has been a bone of contention for this district. There's been a lot of negative comments thrown out by numerous people about the mapping, and this board has continued to press forward to try to resolve that issue. So I think some of the issues that have been ongoing here for decades are being resolved, maybe not at the speed that some would like, but we're trying to resolve it. So
Well,
I'm gonna leave that.
What about that?
No, I told you, Lou, my offer is, if you wanna contact me, I'll talk to you, but the other option is to go directly to Pete, and that's probably your best avenue to say, how do I get this on, or is it of value or of importance? I'm just here to run and conduct the meetings. Pete is our GM, and we continue to issue and suggest the clients go to them. So that's, the answer there. So
Yeah, you write a letter to the state is the best way.
That's
That's the best way.
Thank
Now,
you.
next time it's gonna be the Attorney General.
Well, maybe already.
Anyway,
I haven't.
any other comments on the consent calendar? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve. Okay. A second? Russ seconded. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, item 5A is pages 27 through 36. And this item has to do with the notice of violation that has been brought to the State Resources Control Board regarding, I'm going to say, our supply of water to outside place of use. And I'm going to just turn it over to Pete, because I know this has been an item on numerous times as well. So Pete, you want to take that?
I do.
That's you're gonna have to move it.
Let's, I can turn that on so you can see if it's in
Did you say
your
Russ?
eyes.
No, I'm sorry. Emery said somebody needed to move.
I said, I think
I'm not
that's
sure
it.
what you said.
Yeah, if you guys wanted to slide your chairs, pull them up here right in front of the board if you'd like, so you can see real easy.
So what I would like to do, Mr. President, is to address to some degree items 5A, 5B, and 5C. I'm not going to answer all the questions related to those three items, but as they relate to the district map. Okay, to the map project, and in reality, it's
So
more than.
So if you're gonna go through 5A, B, and C, I'd like to go to the public and ask it before we start this, I know let me state to everybody here, on the presentation of 5B, which is the mapping project, it's about the mapping of the district boundaries. We've been discussing this for months and decades and years around here. While Pete goes through his demonstration, I'm going to ask you to hold any questions or comments until after that. But Pete, I want to know, you're going to talk about the violation notice first.
I am.
Okay, any public comment, I'll write the comments. If you have a comment, I'll write them down. And I'll make sure I'll put your name down next to it and ask the question, or you feel free to ask it at that point in time. So if there's any public comment, let's just go through them on the notice of violation by the state. Because we want to make sure the public has a comment before we go through this, because it's.
It might be helpful because when I'm gonna cover a lot of material. It's probably gonna be, I would say, close to an hour for me to get through this, okay? If I'm uninterrupted, going straight down through it, and then from there, we'll be able to back into 5A item, but I need to summarize the item 5A.
So let's let you go through your entire presentation, then we'll go back to the public for comment, and then the board for comment. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Do you want me to kill the lights or what?
But can you might be able to say it better. Don't want anybody to go to sleep.
No, that's fine, that's really good.
Ooh, that's really, okay.
Okay,
You know what, I can't see.
Oh,
crack the
Sorry.
blinds there.
Glasses on.
Can you?
It's
That's
not,
right, leave the lights on. Leave
It's,
the lights on.
we'll zoom in, you'll be able to see,
we can do
okay?
it.
It's all right,
Um,
it's all right, we'll leave the lights on.
So in addressing item 5A, that is a notice of violation issued by the State Water Resources Control Board. They have a division of water rights, and they're responsible for enforcing the water rights of the state. So they received a complaint, and that complaint was alleging that there were unauthorized diversions outside the place of use, and that some type of fraud related to that, related to information submitted to the state or submitted through MID in their request for changes in in-stream flows was a fraudulent proposal. It was not true in some way. The state did not disclose that in its entirety. And then so they're responsible for investigating that. The findings, the finding violations occurred in not meeting the outside place of use demand with enough well water, and there was no evidence of fraud in their findings in their investigation. The bad news is that if this stands as it is, the state board could issue fines for this. And again, that notice contains the timing of those violations. Those occurred in 2013 and up until September of 2014. And a variety of months over those 2 years. And in looking at that data, we'll talk more about that data. But so the bad news of this is that it's just not it's not a good thing for a notice of violation to stand. It could result in fines. The good news is this is really going to force resolution of this issue related to the map, because they have it as their #1 item that we've got to. They're asking for us to produce the layers of the map to answer the questions of where the service is taking place and how that works with the place of use. The mapping issue, the fact they prepared a map in that notice of violation that was difficult to read, even though it was colored, because it has so many different layers all mashed together. But the point of them doing that exercise is they found conflicts in the various mapping layers, and that's what they want us to resolve between the district boundaries and the service area and the place of use and all of that. So they made statements in their notice of violation, like they felt that there were customers inside the place of use that were being reported as outside place, and the other way around. There might be some outside that were not being reported. So that is part of this process as well, and we have to respond to that. But I can tell you right now, just based on going through the data and going through the information, going through the map layers and looking at our parcels, that their findings and their calculation on their violations has occurred on incorrect data. Both in the map that they're using and the fact that the report that we've been submitting does indeed have customers that we're reporting usage of customers that are inside the place of use as if they were outside, and there are customers that are located outside the place of use that are not on that report, okay? And it's not, you've got to know what the boundaries are of that place of use by, at the property line, not just in theory, or because there's not a meets and bounds legal description produced by the state that tells you exactly which properties this goes around, okay? And that's that is an exercise that we're working on here. We will be resubmitting correct data after we resolve the place of use boundaries. So the 90 days that they gave us, I'm not sure whether that's going to be enough, but we'll work with them to make sure that an extension is given or something that it's documented. But in order for us to give them accurate information about the customers that we serve outside the place of use, then we need to know that we all agree on that place of use boundary as it relates to our customers and who's receiving water. And once that happens, once we say, yes, that is the exact boundary we all agree on, it goes in between this property, around that property, here's what we have, then we'll be able to modify that report for a final time. Okay? And this is what we're going to go over now, is going to help us understand how that works. So that's the summary of the item related to the notice of violation. A couple of important points as we go forward with this is that the MID license was issued in August of 1983, and it established the place of use in an initial location, which is, if you look at the map that the state submitted with that notice of violation, that has the 1983 map in it. In 1988 and again in 89, MID filed petitions with the state board to increase the place of use to include the South Shore, what was the South Shore project at that time. And after a number of wranglings and protests and efforts that the state board made the MID go through, they amended the place of use with Water Rights Order 93-2 that increased the place of use to include the South Shore Ranch. So in reality, it's not super relevant right yet, but that's this area. Okay, it used to cut off here, and this was added with that water rights decision.